do you potentially think that this new numbers could be a liability for this campaign?
No, when I hear that, first of all, I don't believe it because I've never heard Donald Trump say anything truthful.
It is, though, from the Bureau of Labor.
Yesterday, we told you how the Bureau of Labor Statistics actually overshot their numbers on unemployment projections for the course of an entire year, from April 2023 through March of 2024. For 12 full months, they over-reported job creation in this country. You know how we could see these job reports coming in, and it's like, wow, the economy's going gangbusters. Look at all these jobs. And you and I, in the real world, living our lives in this actual economy, have been saying, what the hell are they talking about? And every time you would say, oh, things are really bad out there, Joe Biden would say, are you kidding? We're the strongest economy in the world. We've had record job growth. And everyone's like, that's not reality. Well, it turns out it wasn't reality. We explained yesterday how they overprojected job creation by 818,000 jobs. Donald Trump, giving his first outdoor rally yesterday in North Carolina, talked about this, and you'll see he had bulletproof glass now erected and set up around him because I don't know about you, but seeing that bulletproof glass just brought me right back to that moment in Butler, Pennsylvania, when all of our lives flashed before our eyes. It's a harrowing thing, but I'm glad he's able to do outdoor rallies. It was outrageous that the Secret Service tried to keep him from doing that. That's election tampering. If the candidate wants to do outdoor rallies, it's the Secret Service's job to protect him and make it happen. And they figured it out. So that's good. But he began the speech by drawing attention to this outrageous lie that we've been living under, thanks to the Department of Labor and their fraudulent reporting. Take a look.
Before we begin, I want to address the massive scandal around the revised job numbers that were just announced this morning, a little while ago, just before I came up. I got to see them. And it really isn't a revision. It's a total lie. Total lie. There's never been any revision like this. They wanted it to come out after the election, but somehow it got leaked. It got leaked. Government leaks too. The Harris-Biden administration has been caught fraudulently manipulating job statistics to hide the true extent of the economic ruin that they've inflicted on America. The new data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics shows that the administration padded the numbers with an extra, listen to this one, 818,000 jobs that don't exist. So they said they existed, and they never did exist. They built them up so that they could say what a wonderful job they're doing. No, we've never had numbers like this.
Yeah, and let me add to that, too, by the way. Because, yes, this is a one-time correction, the biggest one in over 15 years that the Bureau has had to recorrect their numbers and say we overstated by 818,000. But here's what makes it even worse. Over the course of these last 12 months that are reflective in these numbers, they've made monthly and quarterly adjustments, too. So they've been even more wrong about the unemployment numbers. So like every month and every quarter, the Bureau says, yeah, we're going to revise down the number we gave you 2 months ago. So over the course of this same window, April of 23 to March of 24, and going off the top of my head, as I always do, I believe the Bureau of Labor Statistics has already downgraded their reporting by about 500,000. And now in one fell swoop, they add another 818,000. So we're talking about 1.3 million misreported jobs over the course of that year. And you heard Trump talk about how they were hoping to hold this until after the election. It got leaked. I have a theory about that. I think that now that Biden's gone, I think they gave the green light to go ahead and put the real numbers out because Kamala is trying to run against the current economy and pretend like she has nothing to do with it. And Kamala is trying to put forth all of these economic initiatives because even Kamala Harris realizes that the Joe Biden messaging that this is the strongest economy on the planet. Remember that clip of Peter Doocy last week asking Biden, what are you going to do when Kamala Harris tries to distance herself from your economic policies? And Biden's like, she won't do that. She won't do that. Well, this gives her an excuse. We were under the misconception that the economy was better than it was. We thought that there was another 1.3 million jobs that weren't there. Clearly, things aren't quite as rosy, but here's my plan to fix it. And you can't blame me. That's what they're going to try to do here. I think that's why this leaked. I think this is part of Kamala Harris trying, because she can't, it's unsustainable for her to stand up in front of you and say, everything's fine. Everything's fine. In fact, it's never been better. She has got to run against this economy because the economy is in the top 3 of issues that voters care about right now, because we know how bad it is. All right. Now, that clip you just saw of Donald Trump talking about the fraudulent reporting from the Bureau of Labor Statistics and about the missing 818,000 jobs. Over on ABC News, when they began their coverage of the convention, they hosted the Secretary of Commerce in their box there as they were reporting. The Secretary of Commerce, Gina Raimondo, I believe her name is, if I remember right. She used to be the governor of Rhode Island. You can see her looking at a TV monitor because they played the clip that you just saw of Donald Trump. And then the reporter took it from there. Take a look at how this went.
When you hear that, do you potentially think that this new numbers could be a liability for this campaign?
No, when I hear that, first of all, I don't believe it because I've never heard Donald Trump say anything truthful.
It is, though, from the Bureau of Labor.
I'm not familiar with that.
When you
Okay. Now, this is worthy of some analysis on both sides. I love it when they just give me 15 seconds and I can talk for 10 minutes about it. I won't, though. Don't worry. Not going to be that much. First, though, they play the clip that you just saw of Trump railing against the fraudulent numbers. Listen to the question from the reporter at ABC News.
hear that, do you potentially think that this new numbers could be a liability for this campaign?
Now, this is one of my biggest beefs with professional media outlets like ABC News and the cable news networks and the way they go about covering politics for the American people. The consumer of this product is you, right? See, when we put this show together and when we communicate our ideas and our analysis of the news and politics and the media, we do it because we're trying to deliver this information for you and in a way that it is relevant to you and what matters to you. The first thing that comes to mind for the reporter from ABC News when she sees Donald Trump pointing out the fact that the Bureau of Labor Statistics has over-reported on the job creation in this economy over the course of the last year by nearly 1 million jobs is not, this is devastating for the American people. This means that 1 million people are out of work that you in your administration currently thought were taken care of and working. This clearly means the economy is not as strong as it is. What are you going to do to help the American people with their employment situation, with inflation, with being able to make ends meet without having to make sacrifices like not taking a vacation this year or not buying new clothes for their children as they start school this month? No, none of that is on her mind. None of the questions have to do with the very real world implications of this dreadful economy on everyday Americans who are tuning into ABC News for information. No, the question is, are you worried that this is going to hurt Kamala Harris? You cannot get a better example of the elites in the media and their perspective on what matters most than that moment right there. All right, so then your Secretary of Commerce, her reply?
No, when I hear that, first of all, I don't believe it because I've never heard Donald Trump say anything truthful.
It is.
So her first response is, it can't be true. It's got to be a lie because Donald Trump said it. Which, okay, fine. Her job is to be there as a partisan, although I think this might be a Hatch Act violation since she's also the Secretary of Commerce. But I guess it's a weird law. It depends on what time of day she's delivering this. Nice earrings, by the way, ma'am. I don't know if it goes with the t-shirt. So her initial thing is it can't be true. The anchor, giving her credit, jumps in and says, oh, no, it's from the Bureau of Labor Statistics.
It's, though, from the Bureau of Labor.
I'm not familiar with that.
I'm not familiar with that. She's the Secretary of Commerce. Now, to be fair, the Bureau of Labor Statistics is under the umbrella of the Department of Labor, but I'll tell you, they're like next door to each other, or they might as well be. And they work hand in hand with each other all the time. She's the Secretary of Commerce. Her job is try to promote businesses in America at home and abroad and tout the great economic boom that's going on in this country at any given time so that we can increase commerce in this nation. She needs to have her fingers on the pulse of data like our current job situation, unemployment numbers, and job creation. It was 12 hours since the Bureau of Labor Statistics had revised down their numbers by 818,000. And she's sitting there at ABC News doing a media appearance, and she was clueless about it. Absolutely clueless about it. And her instinct, but this is the best part of all of it. She was uninformed. She was uneducated. She was clueless, but her initial instinctive answer is Trump's a liar. Trump's lying. When in fact, the truth is she's ignorant. Back over to CNN, where Keith Urban's doing a great job, actually, along with Scott Jennings, speaking truth to power. And he brought home exactly how devastating this jobs number is.
And, you know, today we had, listen, the economy had a terrible jobs report today, right? The downward estimate of close to 1 million jobs that weren't created during the past year in the Biden-Harris administration. Gina Raimondo, when asked about it today, she wasn't familiar with it. She's the Secretary of Commerce, right? Unemployment's at 4.3%, the highest it's been since 2021. 11% credit card defaults, the highest it's been in, I think, since 2009. So the economy isn't great, and people feel that in their pocketbooks at home. And we're going to leave here with this great sugar high and this hope, and then people are going to have to pay their bills. And so it's going to be tough.
All right. I'm sorry, David Urban, by the way. Keith Urban happens to be my literary agent, and I'll have a book coming out soon that you'll want to know about. But no, David Urban, I see that is the one who did that. So let's keep pulling on this thread, because the kind of deceitful coverage that you're getting right now during the Democratic National Convention is quite possibly the worst I've ever seen. And I've been an observer of the news and political media for decades now. But the kind of lies and deceit and gaslighting and propaganda has never been as bad as I've seen. And the perfect example comes from PBS. That's right, the network that you pay for with your tax dollars. This is taxpayer subsidized journalism you're about to say. Judy Woodruff, 45-year veteran of DC political journalism. Used to be on CNN, now she's at PBS. She is like the godmother of TV journalists here in Washington, D.C. She's a saint. And they were talking about the war in the Middle East between Israel and the Hamas terrorists. And she was analyzing the perspective of, or the possibility of there being a negotiated ceasefire or peace deal at some time during this election. And she's pontificating that this would be a boon for Kamala Harris, right? And for the Democrats, if that somehow they were able to negotiate a peace deal. And then she said this.
We know that Secretary of State Blinken is over there right now working with Netanyahu. The reporting is that former President Trump is on the phone with the Prime Minister of Israel, urging him not to cut a deal right now because it's believed that would help the Harris campaign. So I don't know where that, I don't know, who knows whether that will come about or not. But I have to think that the Harris campaign would like for President Biden to do what presidents do, which is work on that one. Yeah.
All right. Now, this is disgusting. And before we get into all the details, let me just tell you outright, that's a lie. Everything that Judy Woodruff just told you about Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu having a conversation where Trump is urging Netanyahu to not negotiate a peace deal for political purposes here in America, absolute fabrication, total 100% lie. And the panel of analysts there, including conservative David Brooks from the New York Times, they stayed silent. Nobody pushed back. Nobody said, whoa, where are you getting that from? I haven't seen that anywhere because no one had seen that anywhere because it was invented by Judy Woodruff. But no one said anything because she's Judy Woodruff, damn it. And she's not going to say something like that unless it's sourced and real and legitimate. She's the godmother of DC political journalism, after all. Now, listen to it one more time because there's a bit of a tell here that she knows herself that this is an unfounded report. Listen.
Working with Netanyahu. The reporting is that former President Trump is on the phone with the Prime Minister of Israel, urging him not to cut a deal right now.
Let me pause there for a second. You heard her couch it. She said, the reporting is that Netanyahu's on the phone with Trump, right? The reporting is. So that's a fascinating turn of phrase. We'll unplug that in a moment, but I'll let her continue now.
Because it's believed that would help the Harris campaign. So I don't know where that, I don't know, who knows whether that will come about or not.
Did you notice that? She says Trump is on the phone with Netanyahu trying to talk him out of negotiating a peace deal because it would help the Harris campaign. And then she says, who knows if that will come about? What was she gonna say? Because I don't know where and who knows are two different thoughts. I don't know where suggests that she was about to say, and I don't know where that reporting's coming from. I don't know where people came up with that. I don't know where that's right. And then she stopped herself. Watch it.
I don't know where that, I don't know, who knows whether that will come about or not.
You see what I'm saying? So that's all a lie. By the way, one other quick observation before we expand more on Judy Woodruff actually coming clean and explaining that this was not true. Do you notice something here? The premise of the lie is that Donald Trump, first of all, is meddling in foreign affairs, a Logan Act violation, and having a phone call with a foreign leader trying to get in the way of a negotiated peace deal because it would harm him politically. Now, of course, they're trying to invoke this, again, completely over-speculated on lie that Donald Trump stopped the border deal from being made, even though it would have never passed the House and the Senate. But Trump got in the way of that because it was going to help Biden politically. Now, that's a lie, too. But they're trying to invoke this thing that Trump gets in the way of things because he's just trying to help himself politically, right? All right, number one. Number two, the suggestion is that both Trump and Netanyahu would rather have the war continue, people die, and the hostages continue to be tortured. They would rather have that than have Harris helped politically. That's the underlying message here that's pretty blatant that we're all supposed to infer from what Judy Woodruff is lying about, okay? But number three, which no one else is picking up on, is that she then goes on to talk about how Kamala Harris would really like this peace deal, right? Listen.
But I have to think that the Harris campaign would like for President Biden to do what presidents do, which is work on that one. Yeah.
The Harris campaign would like Joe Biden to work on this deal, not because that would be a great thing for the Israeli people and for the so-called innocent Palestinians who were casualties of the war, and it would be a great thing to get our hostages home. No, what's clearly being said here by Judy Woodruff is the very same blatant, brazen, cynical political calculation that she's falsely accusing Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu of calculating. But she's literally saying that that's exactly what the Harris campaign wants. The Harris campaign wants a ceasefire deal or a peace negotiated because it'll help them politically, not because it's good for Israel, it's good for Gaza, or it's good for the hostages. No, because it'll help her in November. And she doesn't even realize that that's what she's saying by laying this out here. Again, totally based on a lie. Now, she claims, Judy Woodruff claims, let me give you her so-called apology. What you just saw is what she said on international television, actually, on PBS, falsely claiming that reporting says Netanyahu and Trump had this phone call. She then took to the X platform, not on television. She hasn't said a damn thing about this on television where everyone saw the lie. No. So millions of people see the lie and it's just allowed to stay. And then 24 hours later, she goes to the social media platform and she clarifies. Don't you think she should retract it live on television like every half hour that she's on the air? So it has equal time? Nah. We'll just put something on X. All right, so she goes and she says, I want to clarify my remarks on the PBS News special on Monday night about the ongoing ceasefire talks in the Middle East. As I said, this was not based on my original reporting. I was referring to reports I had read in Axios and Reuters about former President Trump having spoken to the Israeli prime minister. In the live TV moment, I repeated the story because I hadn't seen later reporting that both sides denied it. This was a mistake, and I apologize for it. I want to say this, one little mini itty bitty sarcastic hat tip to Judy Woodruff, because he actually used the words apologize. Usually people come out there when they clarify their remarks and they never actually say, I'm sorry or I apologize, but then they get credit. Well, they apologized. No, they didn't actually apologize. They clarified. They put out an excuse and an explanation. But here in this case, Judy Woodruff actually used the words I apologize, which is frankly commendable. But she claims, understand, I was referring to reports I read in Axios and Reuters about President Trump having spoken to the Israeli prime minister. I hadn't seen later reporting that both sides denied it. Hold on a second here, honey. You didn't report that they had a phone call. You reported something very specific about that phone call.
Reporting is that former President Trump is on the phone with the Prime Minister of Israel, urging him not to cut a deal right now.
She reported that he was on the phone with Netanyahu urging him not to cut a deal. Going back to her apology, she doesn't refer to that at all. All she said was, I was referring to reports I read in Axios and Reuters about former President Trump having spoken to the Israeli prime minister. Now, if you read this clarification and apology, and you know what she was talking about, you would suspect that the only thing she got wrong is that both sides denied that the phone call happened, right? It's like, I accurately said that I saw reporting about this phone call about Trump urging Netanyahu to not cut a deal because he was afraid it was going to help Kamala Harris's campaign, but I didn't report that they both denied the call happened, right? So let's go to the reporting. Axios, she says. Okay, here's Axios. Netanyahu's office denies call with Trump about the Gaza hostage ceasefire deal. Oh, that seems like the Axios reporting she's talking about. Well, what is the Axios reporting? I'm going to read this report to you, and you're smart. You're plugged in. You're aware. You get it. You're much smarter than Judy Woodruff's PBS audience is. So after I'm done reading this report, I want you to point out to us in the comments section what's missing. What did Judy Woodruff report to her audience that was never in this report? Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office said in a statement Thursday that he did not speak with former President Donald Trump on Wednesday to discuss the Gaza hostage and ceasefire deal. A crucial round of negotiations with senior U.S., Qatari, Egyptian, and Israeli officials is set to take place in Doha on Thursday to try to close the remaining gaps between Israel and Hamas. Axios earlier reported that Trump spoke on the phone with Netanyahu on Wednesday and discussed the Gaza hostage and ceasefire deal, citing two U.S. sources who were briefed on the call. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said in a briefing on Wednesday with reporters that it is critical to reach a deal in order to release the hostages, bring relief to Palestinians in Gaza, and decrease regional tensions. There are 115 hostages being held by Hamas in Gaza, where nearly 39,900 Palestinians have been killed, according to local health ministry. By the way, that's a fraudulent number. The health ministry is a propaganda arm of Hamas, which they don't identify. A local health ministry? That's Hamas. But we'll set that aside for a moment. Driving the news. One source said Trump's call was intended to encourage Netanyahu to take the deal, but stressed he didn't know if this is indeed what the former president told Netanyahu. Did you catch it? Did you see it? Did you hear it? Did you? I'll wait for the comments to come in. And while we wait, let's once again remind you of what Judy Woodruff told her PBS audience on Monday.
The reporting is that former President Trump is on the phone with the Prime Minister of Israel, urging him not to cut a deal right now because it's believed that would help the Harris campaign.
Yeah, we have a winner. We have a winner. Ruffin Sanderson. The original report never reported that Trump encouraged him to not accept a ceasefire. That's right. The original report just said they had a phone call. In fact, Ruffin, the original report, as I will read from the final paragraph, one source said Trump's call was intended to encourage Netanyahu to take the deal, but stressed he didn't know if this is indeed what the former president told Netanyahu. So let's understand something here. Judy Woodruff, the dean of political reporters here in Washington, D.C., 45 years in the business, goes on PBS and blithers about how reporting says that Trump called Netanyahu and said, don't take any ceasefire deal. Let the war go on. Let more people die. Let the hostages continue to be tortured and sexually assaulted because I need to win in November. And it never happened. Then 24 hours later on X, not on television, on X, Judy Woodruff said, well, I said this was based on other reporting, but I didn't see that both Netanyahu and Trump denied the call ever took place. Sorry about that. And then we can all walk away and be happy. When in fact, the real actual report claims that Trump may have in fact encouraged Netanyahu to take the deal right now. The exact opposite of what Judy Woodruff reported. And Judy Woodruff, as of today, is not only still the dean of political reporter in Washington, D.C., but she is still a member in good standing of the reporting package on PBS every single night at the convention. She'll be there tonight, making a very nice, tidy paycheck that you help subsidize with your tax dollars. And that's how political reporting is done in Washington, D.C.